Alright guys, so I'm going to do another video. I done one a couple of days ago about the LMP2 in RFactor 2 against the P2 prototypes in Automobilista 2. And there's a comment on one of the videos, and rightly so, that the LMP2 car is more close to a P1 car in AMS2 in the Brazilian Endurance Series, and that comment was correct, or kind of in between the two of them, to be honest. So an LMP2 is kind of between a P1 and a P2. So I thought I'd redo the test, but this time I'll take a different LMP2 car. So in the last one I took the Oreca 07. This time I'm taking the Ligier, the 217 model. And I'm going to be comparing it against one of the P1s in AMS2. And yeah, for this test it's going to be same again, physics, force feedback, and general comments. And what I'm doing here, by the way, I'm just kind of throwing the car left to right to see how the weight shift is actually, you know, loading up in a believable way. And if I'm honest, it feels a bit rigid. Normally what you'd expect is the car to kind of heave to the side and then dart. So at the minute I can feel just a bit of rearward movement, not really much weight transfer going on as such, but it's not too bad. It still feels really good. It's believable, you know. So let's get the show on the road a bit with maybe a couple of fast corners, and let's see what the force feedback is all about. Now for this test I'm running a default DD2 profile that came with RF2. So, you know, and the only thing I'm running on my Fanatec DD2 is the interpolation set to 1, so I have all filters and, you know, dampers and all of that turned off, because I feel that, you know, the second I start adding dampers and stuff like that, it's interfering with what the game is putting out by default, which, you know, you shouldn't have to reconstruct force feedback when a game should put it out based off the physics out of the box. That's my opinion. But anyway, so let's go with this and see, is there any better versus the last profile I tested with. So we'll do like maybe 2 quick laps and see how it feels. Okay, very steer from the rear type feel. Just outbrake myself a little bit there, but yeah, it feels like when I'm turning the wheel, the back of it, there we go, the back of it is rotating after the front points in, so it's a bit difficult to predict what the car is doing, but that's all good. That's me just getting used to it, I guess. I just need to move the brake bias back a little bit. Can't really feel when the understeer is going to come. It just comes and then I feel it. I feel the result of it happening. I don't get like a warning. But whatever. Let's see what it's like in a high downforce corner. Okay, a bit of understeer, it's happened. And whoa, the curbs. Jesus Christ. Yeah, they need to lessen the curb impact on the steering wheel. It almost overpowers the cornering forces, and even there again, like the cornering forces, let's say a 5 or 6 out of 10, and the curb strike is probably a 9 out of 10 or something like that. Yeah, the wheel is better than it was on my Jesus Christ, the curb. You can probably see the camera shaking. Like I'm hitting this curb. I'm going to hit this curb purposely. Yeah, like just going to aim for a few curbs. Yeah, it's overdone. It's overdone. The curb interactions. It's almost like the wheels or the tires are made out of concrete blocks. It's far too aggressive. And remember, that's one thing that I tried to dampen out of RF2 in the past. I went into the JSON files and I was messing around with the intensity, and I was messing around with the intensity on the Fanatec driver, but like I say, for this test I've left everything pretty much standard, because yeah, I don't want to I don't want to mask a problem that is there, and likewise I don't want to create an inaccurate result. I've just kind of seen how these things drive back to back. But yeah, the feedback is nice. It's detailed, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of bounciness around the place. The curbs are nuts. My opinion, way overdone. And even there, like, yeah, the jolts on those curbs are too much. But everything else on the feedback is not too bad. Little hint of graininess in the middle, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And then I'm just gonna see how it handles then the side to side on the straight. Yeah, it grips up and then points in. So yeah, it's probably not as obvious as I'd expect it to be, but it's good. It's good. And yeah, the feedback is, as I say, it's very detailed. It's very detailed. The corner forces are there. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad, to be fair. And I can feel the back. I feel I can control the back a little bit. But the one thing I will say with RF2 force feedback is it goes from being nothing to quite aggressive when you hit a curb, when you hit a wall, or even sometimes if you spin off the track. Like actually I'll do it here on the grass and regain the tarmac, and the grip just goes nuts. Like, yeah, but like, I mean, it is what it is. You know, the feedback is way better compared to what I done the other day when I was testing these two out. It's a lot more detailed. It's believable. The actual shifting of the car when you're driving it does feel it's a bit too much steer from the rear and less front end point, if that makes sense. And that can be a bit unnerving, particularly like if you're used to kind of, you know, let's say sims that appear to model the front axle a bit more, where you depend on that pointiness to kind of tell you if you're overstepping the mark or not. But compared to the profile, compared to the other video I done when I was driving the Oreca, this felt a lot better. And you'll often find in RFactor 2, some of the cars are done better than others. Like some of the, I think they're the F2 type cars. In this, some of them are done like terribly, to the point where there's no feedback, no cornering forces whatsoever, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you kind of get like this random sort of overdone interaction with a curb, you know. But to be fair, this has been a big improvement versus the Oreca test. What I'm going to do now is jump into Automobilista 2, pick up one of the P1s, go to Silverstone, and yeah, basically let's see how they go when they're driven back to back, what the differences are, is the difference big, how does the car handle, and how does the feedback communicate that handling sensation. So yeah, I'm going to pause this here and we'll jump back into AMS2 in a moment. Alright guys, here we are at Silverstone then. We're in the Metalmoro AJR P1, and yeah, let's take this one on a spin around Silverstone and see what the differences are. So this particular prototype is raced in the Brazilian endurance series. So it races multi-class P1s, which is the top level prototype. And just to give an idea as to what it is, here it is in all of its glory. And this races against P2s, P3s. There's also GT3s and GT4s on the grid as well. And it also has a DRS movable rear wing. I'm going to leave that off for this one, but it's all there. It's all modern prototype racing, modern endurance racing. But this car comes in a few different versions. There's the Chevy engine, which we have here, the sort of Chevrolet, the big V engines, and how you can not mistake that roar. There's also a Honda version as well, which is turbocharged, and there's also a 3.5 litre Nissan turbocharged engine, and then a Judd engine that they've thrown in to sweeten the deal. The side-to-side test that we were doing, you can see again here how the car is rolling and then leaning its body weight laterally, and then the tyre grips up and the car starts to turn more. Basically add a G-force once the tyre is loaded up. And from just driving this here, I can see it's more pronounced. You'll see it load up, then turn in, load up, then turn in. But yeah, let's do a few fast corners. And let's get a few high-speed, high downforce sections under the belt of the car. That curve is way more smooth in this, a lot more believable. You know, we're driving on tyres, not concrete blocks, as I said before. So everything feels good. When I brake, it pushes the downforce over the front a little bit more, and I can feel the car biting and turning in a bit. I did a kind of side-to-side thing here. Loads up, turns, loads up, turns, loads up, turns. Yeah, very, very obvious there about the lateral movement of the car. Exactly what you'd expect. Not just on a prototype, on any car really, like running a kind of a stiff suspension with stiff anti-roll, low centre of gravity, all that good stuff. Very good. Force feedback is incredibly detailed. In terms of the steering forces, yeah, I can feel the road interaction a little bit, which is just about enough. Perfect, to be honest. But what I'm getting more of is the useful stuff. The cornering forces are front and centre. The little brakes of traction over the bumps. That's actually one thing I'll say. Instead of feeling the bumps, I'm actually feeling the loss of traction because of the bumps. I haven't thought about that, but that is obvious here in AMS2, in my humble opinion. Yeah, and again, just like the P2 that I test drove, you can fight the back of it on the way in on the brakes, which is, yeah, and then getting on power, just a little bit of play at the limit. The sounds in AMS2 are probably among the best in sim racing, in my opinion, and I'm an ACC regular, guys. You know, I like all sims, of course, they're all good in their own way, but I am an ACC regular, but even I have to admit, this is a great experience, and I can only imagine like a grid full of people racing these in a league or something would be absolutely mega. What a car. Fight on the back on the way in. Do you know, there's more happening in this, you know, more of the good stuff. Let's get a bit of sideways action. Yeah, you can control it. Let me just check the TC is turned down a little. Yeah, and you can force the understeer as well. It's yeah, it's so predictable in terms of what you're getting in the feedback. It's a lot more. Let's just check the bump. Yeah, the bumps are not as harsh as RFactor 2. The curves are not as harsh. You can still feel them, but they're not as harsh. And remembering that, like, racing tires are big, soft, sticky rubber. You know, you're not going to be jolted to pieces by hitting a curb, and I think in RFactor 2 you kind of are. In some of the cars though, not all of them. But in terms of actual engagement, stuff going on with the steering wheel, and when I mean stuff going on with the steering wheel, I'm talking about stuff driven from the physics engine. The useful stuff, the fun stuff, the weight shift, the lateral travel side to side, the travel front and back, and the overall experience for me. And this is not just against an RFactor 2 thing, this is against, dare I say, even ACC to a degree. AMS2 from an actual driving experience perspective, purely driving experience, is quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with. To be honest, it's probably there already. The actual experience of driving these things is absolutely incredible. They have they've got the correct balance of everything. They've clearly got a very good physics engine by the looks of it. You know, like even when I was driving it there doing the lateral testing side to side, the weight shift is there, I can feel the understeer, I can feel the snap at the rear. And in the P1, the downforce, the confidence that you get turning it in and just throwing it into high speed sections, it's exactly what a high downforce car is going to give you. You're not going to, you're not going to worry as much throwing that in versus, let's say, a GT3 car or GT4, where you've got two things. Number one, you've got more weight shift going on. Secondly, you've got less downforce to figure all that weight shift out, and you risk breaking traction very easily. But with these, they drive exactly as you envisage one of these actually driving. But the one thing that really stood out for me was the weight shift. When you chucked it side to side on the straight, it would, you turn, it would roll, and then it would grip and push in. Turn the opposite way, you would roll, grip, and then push in. And you could see that on the straight, that as soon as it gripped up, its rate of turn, its degrees of rotation basically would increase. And in AMS2, that's nailed quite well. Yeah, I mean, the force feedback is great in both of them. Yeah, I just think AMS2 has slightly better, because the curbs are more believable, particularly when you unload on that right-hander back there. The weight is going to be on the left, although the tyre still interacts with the right-hand curb. It's going to be unloaded somewhat. In RFactor 2, you could still feel like a very heavy hit, where in this you couldn't feel it as heavy, maybe because the weight was on the opposite tyre mostly. But yeah, I mean, incredible. Both sims are great for different reasons. And like I say, the feedback on RFactor 2 from this test I done today was a good bit better than the test I done the other day. To be honest, I think they both drive really, really well. That aside, the actual vehicle dynamics, not feedback now, like actual vehicle dynamics. Yeah, I think AMS2 was the most, I won't say realistic, let's say believable, and the most obvious in terms of what you'd expect it to do. RFactor just had a bit of steer from the rear type of feel, where you would point the nose in and then the back would start to follow, and with the steering wheel you had this sensation of like controlling the back axle almost. Where with AMS2 it was all the front. If it was starting to rotate a little bit, the front axle immediately start going lighter, as opposed to the screen visualizing the turn. But overall, guys, I mean, they're both really good. I'm impressed with both of them, and I always say, like, we're in this era of sim racing where we have great choice. Different sims are doing different things really, really well. RFactor 2 has obviously the Le Mans stuff going on, the LMPs, the actual LMP cars and stuff like that. So if that's your bag, certainly drive it. The feedback, in my opinion, and the physics were still really, really good. AMS2 with the latest 1.4 update, and I think we're up to 1.4.1.3 now. And yeah, I mean, it's just really, really good. Like, huge improvements over the last couple of months. Yeah, and this now is AMS2. I think is just it's here to stay. It really is. Certainly in the prototypes, some of the single seaters they put out there, and then most recently the GT3s and GT4s have also driven, and they are also fantastic. They might have a bit of a hill to climb against the ACC dominance that's in the community at the moment, and to be fair, ACC will be hard to knock off its perch anyway in that class. But yeah, LMPs is what we're talking about now, I guess. And yeah, both are great, and I think if you pick up either one of these, you're going to have a lot of fun. But I will say this as a closing statement, right? If you have shied away from AMS2 in the past, or if you've heard people say, it's like Project Cars 2, it is not like Project Cars 2. It bears the same resemblance in terms of it's on the same engine. That's about it. Everything else, different physics, different tyre models, different aero models, and the guys at Risa have really put a lot of change into it. because for a long time I can tell you AMS2 was installed on my machine and it was never really used. Now it's used quite regularly. Anytime I'm not racing around ACC, I'm racing something in this. So that's it, guys. Hope you got some value in this, and I hope it kind of makes sense. I always try to give fact in these videos as opposed to saying, oh, this sim is better because I like it more. No. I'm more about saying it's good here, it's bad there, and I'll try to articulate the reasons why. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you have both of these installed, let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching, guys, as always.